right, welcome back to another episode of The Goodall Show, where we learn how to grow, motivate you to grind, and encourage you to give. We have a great show today. Joey from Georgia is on the show, and we're going to have a conversation with him in a second. But we had a busy week. It snowed on Sunday. We did about 110 driveways, had two snow plows break down. So we had no plows to use, and then we started out with 8 snow blowers, ended the night with 3. So that wasn't a great day, but we got them all done in a decent amount of time, 6 hours. I am using a different mic. I borrowed a mic from my friend. It's a headset, so I can move around a little bit and not have to be leaning forward to talk to the mic. So let me know in the comments how it sounds and how it looks. I know when I'm talking to guys, I have to lean forward and then to talk with the microphone there, so I'm going to try this. You know, we had a crazy game last night, basketball game, went in double overtime, had a 3 at the buzzer to tie it, and then we had a 3 in overtime banked in to tie it, and then we lost in double overtime on a 3 that we almost made to win the game. It's crazy. Good team, good game. We honored one of the men in my graduating class of 08, who was in Afghanistan, who was on a car bomb, and he took his life, and he sacrificed his life for our freedom. Touching moment, you know, but he's in heaven now, looking down on us and doing better now. But he sacrificed his life that he was living, and then he also sacrificed the life that he would have lived. You know, yesterday, before I get to the conversation, though, I don't know if you feel like this in business, but I was moving or trying to move a filing cabinet and in the pole barn where the school that I work at, and it was heavy. So I called my brother. I'm like, hey, you around? And he said no. I wanted to see if he can help me. Then I called another person. He didn't answer. So I'm like, I'll get it myself. So I took out the drawers, and it wasn't a normal size filing cabinet. It was bigger. And so, and like I said, this was crazy. I was about to put it on the dolly. I put it on the dolly, but when I did it, it was just too heavy, and it fell on me. And so I'm standing there like kind of on my knees like a catcher would in baseball, and I couldn't get it off me. Like I was stuck, and my knees were starting to like give. So I got down on the ground like I had to. It was just pushing on me. So I was on the ground, and if you're watching on YouTube, one of the dolly bars was on my ankle, and the other dolly bar was on my thigh. And so I'm in this situation, right? There's nobody around. The pole barn's closed. I mean, nobody can see me. Nobody can hear me. And I'm stuck. And so for about 3 or 4 minutes there, I'm trying to get it off my leg, stuck. I'm like, I'm not calling anybody. This is embarrassing. I mean, but at some point there, maybe 3 or 4 minutes in, I'm like, I got to call somebody. So I call one person. Actually, the guy that was on the show last week, I called him because he works at the school. And I called him, but he didn't answer. He let me down. I'm like, dude, what in the world? So then I tried for about 2 more minutes, and like now I'm losing strength. So I'm lifting it up, like getting it off my ankle as best I can. But now I'm losing strength, so now it's like getting more and more pressure on my ankle. And at this point, I'm thinking my ankle's going to be like broken if I don't get this off, and because it's starting to hurt, and then my thigh is really starting to get bruised, and like not feel numbness or anything, but I'm starting to lose strength. So I call another guy, call the woodshop teacher. He answers, and I'm like, hey man, are you in the woodshop? Because the woodshop's right next door to the pole barn. And he's like, no, I'm in the gym. He's like, why? What's up? I'm like, you come to the pole barn. You know, trying to be as calm as possible. I don't want to be like sound freaking out. So he's like, yeah, like right now. I'm like, yeah, like right now. So I didn't try to sound. So apparently, I'm like, when I hang up, I'm laying there. I'm like, dude, pray that he's running. So he gets there in like 2 minutes. It felt like 10, but he gets there in 2 minutes. And when he walks in the door, this little hallway, when he walks in the door, all he sees is the filing cabinet and my arm on top of the filing cabinet. He doesn't know what it is. And then he sees it and gets it off me. In that situation, dude, first of all, I was glad he ran, because he's like, dude, I heard in your voice like something was wrong. So he ran. And he's like, dude, I just booked it. I didn't know what was going on. So he got it off me. In that situation, man, like there was nothing I can do. And sometimes in this life, and even in our businesses, right, there is nothing we can do. Like, we feel like the pressure's getting to us. We're not making enough money. We can't pay our bills. We can't seem to grow. We can't do all this stuff. And really, like in my life, I'm a Christian, right? I have to trust on God. God, you're going to have to help me. Like, I took over this business, not making any money, took a pay cut for the last 3 years to grow. You're going to have to help us get through this, get through the winter. And when you do that, man, I think it is relieving to know, like, there is someone else that can help you out, but then also get help from someone else. Because you're not going to do it on yourself. You can't do it on yourself. Most people don't. I know there is people out there who didn't get any advice. Nobody helped them, and they succeeded. But for the most part, there's books, there's podcasts, there's things out there that could really, really help you and encourage you to get to where you need to be. We're going to have a conversation with Joey. I'm going to call him, and then we'll get ready to go. Joey, hey man, this is James.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for joining the podcast, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I know that it snowed. I couldn't get back to you, and I'm glad that you were able to come on. I appreciate it. Okay, so I know that what you told me, you are about 20 minutes. 20 minutes out of 45 minutes outside of Atlanta, right?
Yes, sir.
Newman, Georgia. You've been the operating manager for a company for 3 years. And then you had your business for a little over a year, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you're 24.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So how did you start that business when you back, maybe 3 or 4 years ago?
So essentially it was a deal where I just, I had been doing lawn care, doing like the actual manual labor part of it. And essentially, I just kind of decided, something I enjoyed doing, so I wanted to try to do it on my own. I had the means available to be able to do that. So I, pretty much I went and got my state license, but I was legally able, allowed to operate. Basically went door-to-door selling and, kind of got a spray rig to put on my truck, to actually treat the lawns. But, just essentially just a one-man operation. Just kind of doing it on my own.
Yeah, and you are more of the chemical side, right? So
yes.
when you started your business or whatever, it was more like lawn fertilizing and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Fertilizing and weed control.
Okay. Yeah. So and that's a little different, right? We don't do fertilizing and lawn care. fertilizing and treatment, but it's the same process, right? You still got to talk to customers, right. You still got to grow, and you still. How does the after you had the business you had it for a year or so, or more than that?
Yeah, like right around a year.
Okay, and then what made you stop the business and go be a manager?
So it basically like you said, I am 24. So when I had first started it, I was 20, 21 years old.
Yep.
So I guess that kind of inexperienced part of it was kind of what kind of did me in towards the end, because when I had first started it, I had started it rather I guess kind of late and kind of like in the middle, late, in the peak season of being able to sell stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So right around the time that things started slowing down, that's around the time, I'm sure, kind of similar to the maintenance part of it, is where, people just don't, I guess, necessarily think that, see the need to do it, when everything's dormant and, not really growing. So I ended up, kind of losing more money doing it like that, and wasn't really able to sustain what I had, going into spring, I guess. Like I just didn't have enough resources to be able to do that. So,
yeah.
I pretty much just kind of like sold everything that I did have, to the company I'm currently with,
Yep.
managing.
Yep. Yeah, and then so in Georgia, it's not all year round, is it? Or is it kind of? Is it, because like for us, we stop mowing in, before November roughly, and then we don't start till the middle or end of April. That's not how it is with Georgia, right? Like you're more all year round or no?
So on the mowing wise, yeah, no, it's kind of similar to you. You don't really see any mowing unless people are just trying to clean up, in October. But on the chemical side of it, no, it is all year round. There's even now, even now and in December, there's it's probably more important than it is now, in this than in the summer, because we're doing stuff now to basically prevent weeds and basically help the lawn grow thicker whenever it does start growing again, just because everything's like slow release. But so yeah, it basically, like I said, it is all year round. Each and every thing that we do, which is it's seven to eight times a year that we actually go out to a lawn. But each time we go out has a very, very important and specific purpose.
Yeah, I got you. And then probably, I mean, I don't know how many applications you're doing. Like over here, sometimes they push for like 6 or 7. Maybe it's more in Georgia because you do it all year round. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Most of the time, you're right. It's the same over here. Generally, you see 6 to 7. We do 8. I know there's some companies that do 12. They go out every single month.
Really?
But it just kind of depends on the company. Okay. A lot of the products are geared to last, about 2 months. So,
and then how many clients or whatever when you sold it to the company you're working for now? I don't know if you can talk about that, whatever. But how many clients did you have? Like, what were you bringing in? How was that after 1 year?
So by the time I ended up like at my peak, I had about 90 to 100. Once I got to the point where I kind of just sold it all to the company I'm with now, I had roughly about 40 or 50.
Okay. And that was like people doing it 5-6 times a year, 7 times a year?
Right. Yeah, it was 7 times a year. And then, I did offer like other stuff like, some like different add-ons and, kind of services in between. Mm-hmm. But, as for like actual full program people, it was, like I said, by the end it was about 40-ish, 50. Bringing in the peak, it kind of differs between rounds just because products cost, different amount. Yeah. But I was charging, per customer application, whatever, I was charging on average about $45 an application. Okay. I would say probably. Go ahead.
No, see, that's one of my questions with like fertilizing is, see, we've never really done fertilizing, right? We've put it down for a couple people here and there. And where did you? So for $45 an application, where did you get your actual product? Because it seems like, did you buy it in bulk? Obviously.
Obviously I bought more than what you would do for like just your yard. Yeah. I don't know if it would be necessarily considered bulk because a bag of fertilizer you can do about, depending on your rate, roughly about 12,000 square feet on it. So I was able to do 3-4 yards with a single bag. Okay. So yeah, if I was ordering, for the entire round, I would probably end up ordering about like 50 to 60 bags. I'd be able to do, my entire thing with it.
Yeah, we were just struggling on like how to charge and where to go from there. I don't know if we're ever going to get into fertilizing, but just because we have so much other business, but we were struggling like how much do we charge? Because, we were buying a bag and it seemed like maybe we were putting down too much. So the bag would go through very fast, like a $35 bag would go through, a yard and a half. And we're like, man, like we're not really making a ton. So that's helpful. You're getting it. Where were you getting it from? Like, were you getting it from a local shop? Like, how much were you paying per bag?
So there's a couple of different options. I personally, I was getting it through, and I'm not sure if they have it, nationwide, but there's a landscape supply store called Site One. Okay. I was getting it there, and it's professional grade 50-pound bags of fertilizer for roughly about $21 a bag. Oh, wow. I know, like the company I'm currently with, we go through a company that is like regional, so we literally can, I'll order, a couple thousand bags at a time. We'll get it for about $15 a bag at that point. But I was literally just going to pick it up, load my truck up with it, and basically bring it back and use it.
And so at 21, see, that makes sense, right? To get $15 a bag, $21 a bag. Man, I don't know if we even like could find that here. Man, I don't know. We'll have to look into it if we can. But so you're 21, you have a fertilizing company, and you decide I'm going to sell this. So how did you go about selling it? Did you just start calling people?
Basically, it started off, it was just strictly door to door. And it, literally just by myself going door to door, trying to make the pitch, make the sale. Mm-hmm. And as I got a little bit further along with it, I started, I actually got some door hangers that I would still be door knocking. And if they didn't answer, I would leave the door hanger. Yeah. Kind of with the goal of leaving out 100 a day. And then I got a little bit more, which it wasn't nearly as successful, but I got a little bit more into like trying to do some online marketing, like through Facebook and Google and stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't really work, didn't really work out on that end, but I would say probably like 90% of my sales were strictly just for me, door knocking.
Yeah, so you build this company and you get it, you said at your peak maybe like 80 or 90, and then when you sold you at 45. How did you sell it though? Right? So how did you go and find this company to sell it to? Did you just start calling around and say, hey, do you want to buy these properties, or did they come to offer you a job, or what was that?
So it's actually kind of interesting. So I had gotten to a point where I was going to try to hire a salesman, and I had one actually reach out to me from the company that I ended up selling it to. They had actually just opened up in my area probably maybe about 4 months, before I ended up selling everything. Mm-hmm. So he had, he was wanting to leave there and come work for me as a sales rep. It, ended up not working out. He ended up staying with that company, but the vice president of the company was still at that branch, and they ended up just kind of getting to talking. And they, I wasn't really at the time specifically looking to sell. I mean, I was trying to do what I could, but they had reached out to me, to try basically offer me a job, take over all my accounts, and basically just kind of buy the company from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's essentially how it happened. Is obviously not the most traditional way.
Yeah,
to do that.
It happens. So they offered you a decent amount to where you're like, man, I kind of want to, because you weren't looking to sell. You were still looking at that point, right? You were looking to build the company. Right. And so they just came and offered you a price that's like, man, this is kind of worth it. And then they offered you a job as well?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Man, that's sweet. So that was 3 years ago. What job did you have at that time? And then where are you now? Like, how did that progression happen? Are you still in the same job that you started at?
So they put me in a supervisor role. So the company that I'm with now, they try to open up 2 different locations a year. When I had first started with them, they were maybe just a couple of months out from actually opening up a location about an hour away from me. They were essentially wanting me to take that location over.
Gotcha.
Ended up working out to where I ended up taking over the location that I live 10 minutes away from.
That's better. That's a better deal.
Yeah. So I mean, essentially they were kind of just trying to groom me, I guess, to do things the way that that they did it. To be able to kind of take over an entire branch.
Yeah. So is it a big, like a huge company like True Green, or is it a smaller company, like locally?
It's not necessarily local. It definitely is one of like the bigger ones. It's not as. It is funny that the heads of the company actually came from True Green.
Okay.
So we've got 8 locations across 3 states. We've got. I think at the end of the year we had like 45,000 customers.
Really? So then they're looking to grow because they added another location right when you started, right?
Right. Yeah. And since I've been here, they've opened up 3 locations.
Oh wow. Okay. So you're an operations manager. Are you the manager of the whole thing? I mean, not the whole thing, but like the operations manager of that specific branch. Because my cousin is a manager of a True Green branch here locally, and he does the sales. He's the sales manager. Obviously they have an operations manager. So what does that all entail? How many guys you have under you? What does all that go into?
So officially, it is just my branch. So I've got 10 trucks that I run out of my location. We're budgeted to add 2 more this year.
Nice.
Total number of guys. I think it's going to end up probably being about 14. Unofficially, I am over like we have, like I said, the 2 other branches that have opened up, or 2 of the 3. I basically kind of help those branches run, from the service side.
Yeah.
So I have to make a trip out to, 2.5-hour trip to Birmingham, over in Alabama, and down in Columbus, every couple of weeks, just to kind of, basically make sure everything's, running smooth through them. So I, like I said, kind of unofficially, I'm kind of like the region operations manager. But I, like I said, officially, it is just my single branch.
Yeah. So you run the operation manager. And so when did you start? You started 3 years ago as the operation manager, correct?
Well, so not really. The operations manager has been about like 2.5 years.
Gotcha.
Like I said, they kind of brought me on as a supervisor to, for me to kind of learn their way of doing it. And
Okay.
then as soon as that happened, I kind of transitioned into that role.
All right, so you take over, and as the operation manager, what have you done? Is there anything you've done different that has made things go smoother? Has things been more efficient, been better? Is there anything like that?
I would probably say so. So the experience that my bosses basically have, like I said, they all came from Trigger, and that's like really the only experience they had. Versus myself, I've had experience with a couple of different companies, then obviously my own, to the point to where I made a big point to myself whenever I did first take over to kind of have a culture change around my location, and kind of just make like a day-to-day kind of easier, I guess, for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what, I try to do some things, I'll try, like, my employees on their birthdays, I'll get them like a, $20 Chick-fil-A card, or, we'll do like real nice Christmas parties, and, just different stuff like that wasn't being done, that I kind of take upon myself and try to encourage others to do, which has made a pretty big, it's easy, when we're as big as we are, to kind of get in that, like, just corporate mode where it's just dollars every day, and you can't really focus on like the small, like the individual customers and individual employees. I try to make a point to, like I said, to do that, kind of make everyone enjoy it, I guess, a little bit more.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it's like I took over my company 3 years ago, right? I took over from my dad. I bought the company from him, and my goal really for the employees have been, I want to make it's work. I understand it's work. We got to get out and we got to go grind, and it's hot sometimes, and we got to work long hours sometimes. But I would rather turn down business, and make it more enjoyable long term, because then that's when you're going to keep your guys. I mean, probably it's a little bit easier. I mean, if you keep doing this, it's going to be easier for you to keep guys that get a $20 Chick-fil-A card on their birthday. That means something. It's $20 to Chick-fil-A. Like, really, like, if I got a $20 gift card, I'd be like, dude, this is cool. This is great.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change their life. But, dude, it's something that adds up every once in a while, like bigger Christmas parties. I think other managers would look at that and be like, I'm not doing that. That's something I can do. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it's nothing like you're not really like changing dramatic things, but little things that can make the workplace more enjoyable. It is huge, and little things go a long way. So you're in your third year. What is something that you're looking for this next year? Like, do you set goals? I know, like my cousin for True Green, right? He sets goals in his business, or he has a budget, right? He has to hit, and he gets bonuses. Is that kind of how you're set up? Because you're not really in sales, right? You're operation manager. Do you have bonuses? Do you have goals that the guys have to meet, or they just got to get the work done?
Yeah, so basically, like, the budgets that I set for this, like, the service side for this year, we have to hit X amount of dollars every month and every quarter. Really, the only bonus that goes towards, for me, I guess, is every quarter if I've hit my, my revenue number, as well as like my customer retention. Then I get my bonus at the end of every quarter.
Yeah.
Originally, when we were smaller, our budgets were kind of set for us, and it kind of, different. Like, for instance, we were not able to work yesterday at all because it didn't get above freezing until about 2:00.
Really? So
basically, our products had all like frozen inside the tanks and inside the pump, so we couldn't do anything. But stuff like that wasn't being kind of accounted for, So it was basically, I'm trying to, when I was doing it, doing our budgets, and kind of my goal for this year was to make things, kind of account for things like that, so it wouldn't necessarily put so much strain on, myself as well as my guys. Like, we got to make up all this extra work.
Yeah.
Because because we didn't account for, we weren't, going to be able to work today because it's so cold. So, just trying to make things, I guess, easier. I try, like I said, I'm proactively trying to find ways to kind of make things more, to where my guys can know what to expect day to day, rather than, we're having to, work all these extra hours throughout the week, or work on a Saturday, or, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And working on Saturdays, to me, like I have a family, right? Even when I didn't have a family, I don't know. I don't know if you're married, you have a family yet?
Yeah, I've been married for, basically almost 5 years, and we're have a kid.
Man, if your wife
So.
if your wife heard that, she'd be like, "You don't know how many years we've been married? Like I've been married for like so 5 years already. So you got married when you were 20,
Yeah.
19. Look at that. So yeah, I mean, I got married 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, see, now you got me. I don't even know, man, dude. Come on, bro. It's 4 years. I know, because my 5th year anniversary coming up. So I get it. Okay. So I mean, in my mind, I know like. I don't want to work on Saturdays,
Exactly.
I don't want to work late anymore. I don't even want to work past 6, So, and my guys know that. So it's like, man, they don't want to, they understand that. They understand I'm trying to get it to where we are not working late. We're not working on Saturdays. It's just a better feeling. And maybe they don't stay with us for 5 years. Maybe they don't stay with us for 2 years, but at least the time that they're here, they enjoy it a little bit more. So what's the biggest struggle that you've dealt with, or you see yourself going from, I know it's not your company, so you can't really, you're doing operation, man. You're getting your guys to put down the chemicals, but what's the biggest struggle that you deal with? Is it hiring? Is it motivating guys? What is that?
I had done a pretty good job up until last year with being able to keep my guys and keep the trucks on the road and stuff. Honestly, the biggest struggle I've had of the last 3 years came from last year, where it was just people wouldn't stay on. Like I just had a lot of people quitting, and they were collecting unemployment, so it was hard for me to actually keep people staffed. But as well as we like last year, we were budgeted to get 3 new trucks just because of the extra revenue we had,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so difficult to actually get those trucks, because there's new truck shortages and everything, to where we cannot get the trucks in to actually get them on the road. So, which caused us to get behind, and people are having to work harder, work longer. So more people are getting ticked off about that. So they're leaving because they don't want to work all these extra hours. So it's just it's a very vicious cycle. It kind of started in the beginning. And I would say probably like the end of the first quarter last year, where we were supposed to get these trucks, and then now all of a sudden some people are quitting, which puts us more behind. So it was kind of a mix of just kind of keeping people, as well as like I said, just trying to basically keep all the trucks on the road, so that the people I did have and did stay didn't want to leave.
Yeah, and I know how you feel, man, because I remember 2 springs ago, we hired a couple guys and COVID happened, and they were getting not the same amount of money. They were getting a little bit less, but a decent amount of money to stay home.
Right.
So why would they work? Like in my mind, I got a family to provide for. I got a business to run. I'm not thinking 6 months from now. I'm thinking 10 years from now, So I'm grinding and we're working. But yeah, you're right, man. I didn't even think about that. It's vicious cycle. So these guys quit, right? And then the guys that stayed have to work harder, and they're like, dude, I don't want to. And then it's harder to find guys. That is a struggle. I think that's a struggle for everybody around this, now. And because everybody's hiring, you can you can walk into any store and hire. And then I was talking to my brother, and we're paying the guys $16-17 an hour to cut grass, which is good. I think it's good for a 20-year-old kid. But I drove by a car wash, and they're advertising starting out at $16 an hour. I'm like, dude, why would they? So I think that's where, like, why would they stay with me? So that's where I think it has to be such an enjoyable atmosphere, and they want to come to work, that they will stay. So the struggle for you is, keeping guys and getting that done. What's the so last question here? What's the advice on a guy who maybe, because you had a business, right, and you weren't looking to sell, but what's the pros and what's the cons of both? I mean, if you can think of that, I know it's like a kind of loaded question, but the pros of having a business and like cons, and why did you make that transition, and would you do it again? And then also, are you looking to stay at this company long term, or maybe there's one day I have my own company?
So the pros, just you hear it all the time when people, talk about having their own company or wanting to do it, is definitely being able to work for yourself. The freedom of being able to, if you wanted to sleep in a little till 9, wake up, go sell, go treat some yards, is a beautiful thing. I mean, it is a fantastic feeling. Being able to not have to report to anybody, you're basically the owner of your own destiny as well. So the con, it depends on the situation. The con for me was basically the the serious financial stress that it was. Like I said, I was a little bit ill prepared for kind of going through that slow season and not really accounting for people actually falling off. That was probably the biggest thing for me. You're working a little bit longer because you're having to do everything yourself. But I mean, it's not, that can kind of go into the pro. You're enjoying it because it's your business. It's something that you're growing.
Yeah.
As for the company I'm with now, yeah, I mean, it's the way they've kind of structured things. It is definitely something that they've made it to where it's something I want to be at. Long term. I'm 24. My plan, is basically to retire with this company.
Yeah.
They've been able to take care of me and my family, which is, they started off small, and
that's
the
most important thing, taking care of your family. Yeah. So
right.
Keep going. Yeah. Keep going.
So, and that was the point I was wanting to get to. They make it a point that they want to take care of other people's families. They want to make sure everyone's taken care of. And, that was, like I said, that was kind of my goal. That was what I wanted the end game to be for my company. Unfortunately it didn't, but I kind of transitioned into something nice and kind of saw that, the opportunity for me and my family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. And I think, first of all, the first year in business is probably going to be the hardest, right? And
for sure.
And some people, it's nice when when you started your company, you were married, right?
Right.
Right. So that's another thing you have to factor into, right? And that's where, I struggled my first year, where I had a wife. I was set up a little different, where I had some money saved so I could take a hit for the next couple years. And not a big hit, I'd have to grind and stuff, but and that's huge, right? And making that decision, because at that point, man, this is what I thought I was going to do for a while. I was going to build this company and then selling it. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and I tell people all the time, like, I'm not 100% of people should not be a business owner. Like there's if everybody was a business owner, there'd be no team members. So, and where there's companies out there, you can make more money. You can have a better life than running your own chemical company and retiring. And they have pension plans, and they have not bonuses, but whatever it's called. Insurance. They pay for your insurance and all that stuff. So it's nice. So that's huge, right? So you're 24. There's a kid. There's someone listening. There's a man out there listening who has a struggling business or is in your situation. What kind of advice would you give at 24? Is there any books that you read? Is there any podcasts you listen to? Any motivation? Anything that you would give to them? Be like, dude, you may be struggling, but there is a way out. There is a way out of it.
Right. As for like books and motivation and things, there was a ton that I listened to. There wasn't anything like specifically that I was, like by a specific person or company or anything, but it was a lot of like listening to, kind of not necessarily self-help books, but just that kind of like, here's how to improve yourself and your business and, mindset. In regards to someone who is struggling, yeah, I mean, it's, while, like I said, the big pro of it is being able, it's fun, it's fun and enjoyable to actually do it yourself, and it is something to be proud of. But at the same time, in my situation, I do have a family I've got to take care of, and I've got to think about them. So it is, you're able to take care of them is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right. Are you able to do that while you're actually, running your business, whether you're struggling or not? That is, you gotta think of them first. That ultimately is gonna be what it comes down to.
Exactly. If you can't pay the bills, the business is not a dream anymore. It's a nightmare. You gotta sometimes you gotta. I think I said it on the last podcast was, if you have a business that's dying and it's not going anywhere and you've been struggling, you're not making any money, it's not a failure if you just quit that business and go do something else. You just came to the realization, you humbled yourself and said, and this wasn't your situation, you weren't really failing or anything, but some people, they keep a business alive for 5-10 years, where if they would have just stopped the business and gone and got a good job, paying job, they would be in a better situation now. But they didn't have the courage, they didn't have the humility to do that. And yeah, there's self-help books. I don't really read a lot of I don't think I've read a lawn care book. You know, I never read a book about lawn care. It's all about self-help or business. The book of the week for this week, I do a book a week. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And it's just learning how to make friends and learning how to remember their names, because I'm terrible at remembering people's names. But books like that could just help yourself, help your family, help your relationships. So, hey, Joey, I know you're in Georgia, so I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I know, are you a Georgia fan? Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah.
So,
Georgia Bulldogs and Atlanta Falcons.
There you go. So Monday they play Alabama, right? Got to get their revenge.
Yes, sir. 8 o'clock.
Man, dude, 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be watching it. I'll be watching it for sure right after my basketball practice. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. I don't know if you have any questions. I mean, if there's a question you have, anything like that. If not, we'll end this podcast, because this conversation was great. I think people got a lot of help from this, and maybe someone who's struggling with a business say, man, you know, someone offered me a job. I think maybe if I do this for a couple years and see how I like it, then I can always go back.
Sure. Yeah, no, I personally, I don't have anything. I was just, glad to come on. And if I was even able to help a person, with some maybe decision they're struggling with, it's kind of worth it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we got into the practical stuff of charging, how much you were charging as a business owner, but then also, it's not easy to sell your company, right? To move on to something else. But when you look back, you're like, that was the best decision I made. I'm where I'm at, and now I'm set up for the future for my family's sake and all that. So, hey, man, I hope you have a good 2022. I hope it's good for you. Thank you for coming on the podcast, brother.
Yeah, man, you too. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, hey, Joey, he made a hard decision 3 years ago, and I don't think he's looked back. I don't think he regretted it. And maybe if you quit your business in 3 years, you'd look back and regret it. But you can always start it again. And I'm not talking to everybody. I'm not saying that you don't need to grind and push through and get through that first 2 years. But if you're not enjoying it, if it's not something I don't know if I want to do this, then why do it? For me, that first year of business, this is what I want to do, and I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could see progress. I could see all that. And like I told Joey, it wasn't like I didn't have money to back up on, right? I had money set aside to where I could take a pay cut for 3 years. But that was a good conversation. And a conversation that doesn't, everybody's like, you got to push through. And yes, I believe with all my heart, 75%, 85% of companies should push through and get through that 1 year and fight through that pain, fight through that suffering. But there's also some people who say, dude, if I looked at it, this business isn't going anywhere. And maybe you should have done something else, and I don't want you to get 20 years down the road and have the same amount of lawns or same amount of people you're doing paint for, same amount of plumbing, and you don't have anything to show for it. So sometimes you got to make a hard decision. The book of the week, like I said, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I would tell you this is if it's not in my top 10, it's in my top 15 books. The chapter about how to remember people's names is the one that stands out to me the most. And I probably read it about a year and a half ago, listened to it a year and a half ago. And my pastor, in the first month of becoming our pastor about 7 years ago, it's like he knew everybody's name. And after I read this book about a year ago, I was like, he read this book and he applied it, because I'm terrible with names. He knows everybody's name. And just learning to become friends with everybody can help you down the road. We talked about it last week. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, in business, in life, and in relationships. Hey, I appreciate you joining the podcast. We are on our 8th episode. Our goal is 52 episodes in 52 weeks. And once a week, we get on here and we talk about business, talk about life. I don't want to talk about just lawn care. I want to talk about other businesses. Hopefully next week I have somebody joining me and we go from there. Leave a comment if this microphone made a difference, right? I could talk back here all the way by the chalkboard. I could talk all the way up there. I don't have to lean forward. If I back up, the microphone's not on my on the table, so I can still talk. So I appreciate you guys. Understand this. Appreciate you guys. You guys are the reason why I do what I do. Hey, we got a big week coming up for basketball for my JV guys. We got a game on Tuesday. We We have a tournament Thursday and Friday, and we are about 3 weeks left in the season, and we're good to go. Hey, this helped you, share it. If it didn't help you, share it. If you didn't like it, don't like it. If you liked it, push that like button. Have a good one.